to me. From Singapore, the vessels collided near the port and damage to one compartment on the tanker caused crude oil to pour out. No one on any of the vessels was hurt. The Sabine-Neches waterway is closed to all traffic along Port Arthur's riverfront from mile marker 276 on the intercoastal waterway all the way to mile marker 289. The crude oil contains hydrogen sulfide gas, a chemical that can be hazardous and even fatal if inhaled in large concentrations. Port Arthur police and firefighters say the levels are not hazardous and the evacuation was done as a precaution. Authorities say the Eagle Atomy crew lost ability to be able to control the ship, and it struck a vessel docked at the port. A tow boat pushing 2 barges was in the vicinity, and one barge struck the crude oil tanker. Local authorities say only one compartment of the tanker is leaking, and they say it's possible about 1,000 barrels or 40,000 gallons spilled into the water, but investigators are still working to determine the amount of oil that was spilled. And the closing of the ship channel could cause a huge economic impact to Southeast Texas. Members of the Coast Guard say at least $55 million a day will be lost for every day the ship channel near the Port of Port Arthur is closed. The Coast Guard, Port Arthur Police and Fire, as well as representatives from the General Land Office and the ships that collided held a press conference this evening. The Coast Guard is working with several agencies to identify the spill and how to separate the ships. Captain J.J. Plunkett says it's a significant spill that spreads for about 2 miles within the canal. He says investigators are working round the clock to determine when and how to separate the ships.
Well, it certainly is a significant spill. We're working to get it cleaned up to address the safety concerns and then get commerce moving after we get everything cleaned up.
This is very upsetting to us. We've got the whole width and breadth of our company attacking this with our outside contractors, and we're doing everything we can to work with the Coast Guard and the rest of the team to mitigate this damage and get the channel reopened as quickly as possible.
Sabine-Neches waterway is closed and the Coast Guard does not know when it will reopen. The city of Port Arthur lifted the mandatory evacuation around 6 o'clock this evening. People were free to go or they could stay at the shelter. 6 News reporter Jessica Holloway is here with an update. Jessica?
Emergency officials are holding down the fort tonight, and that includes members of the Red Cross, the Port Arthur Fire Department, Acadian, and the Jefferson County Emergency Response Team. Today, the emergency officials worked tirelessly to make sure there was enough food, water, and supplies for people who needed to evacuate the odor-filled area. They've quickly turned a surprise situation into a comfortable overnight stay for some Port Arthur families. A truck full of supplies and a few dedicated employees ensure Port Arthur families have a place to stay tonight.
They looked out for us over here, and that's great. That's what it's all about.
The city lifted the mandatory evacuation. Many people are heading home.
We just have to give thanks because it could have been something so much worse.
Others are staying.
What have you been doing with your friends and family?
Laughing and talking.
Tamika Thomas's daughter has asthma. She brought food for her family.
So I really didn't want to come stay here, but I didn't want them there either because I don't want her to get sick.
When the community heard there were hot meals, in came the masses. About 135 people stayed here during the day, and as the night wore on, that number almost doubled.
That's what we're supposed to do. We were elected to serve the people, and this is one of those things you must do. And we're just blessed that we can do it.
We have the cots, breakfast food, all the things we need for the people that come in over the night, and we've also called in the staff to make sure that we have the building properly open and secure.
The real story is here, putting up the cots, because this is not easy, is it?
No, it's not. It's very difficult.
Although not everything is easy, with a laugh and a smile, the effort of several agencies coming together made it possible for families to have a hot meal and a safe place to stay for the night. A Spanish newspaper in Port Arthur, La Voz, got donations from local restaurants for the food. After the hot meals were served, the shelter cleared out, and we're told so far at this time, 17 people are planning to stay the night. Live in the studio, Jessica Holloway, KFDM 6 News.
Now, emergency officials are saying that it's okay, people can go back in their homes, but hydrogen sulfide gas About how long would it stay in the air? Excuse me.
Well, not very long. That's the good news because we had the front move through a couple hours ago. Wind shifted to the west-northwest, blowing it out, so good shape.
Okay.
Now we talk about some cooler weather the next few days, especially at night. Let's take a look at our